Live from the CBS Bay Area studios, this is KPIX 5
Legally,
News.
we don't have, authority to make somebody clean up their home.
Out at 11, the hidden dangers of hoarding. This big fire in the South Bay shedding light on a major problem for firefighters. How they deal with junk-filled properties when seconds are on the line. Good evening, I'm Brian Hackney.
And I'm Juliette Goodrich. That fire broke out in the East San Jose foothills yesterday along Pleasant Acres Drive. KPIX 5's Katie Nielsen shows us how crews not only battled huge flames, but they had to dodge junk and debris that was basically everywhere.
But there's a lot of stuff up there. Not no more.
This is what San Jose firefighters saw yesterday afternoon when they pulled up to the fire off Pleasant Acres Drive, a property piled high with what looks like junk. In this case, old cars, trailers, and debris.
Fire hides deep in those piles, so it takes a long time, even with foam and just hours and hours of water application, to get to those deep-seated fires.
It takes more manpower and time to deal with fires at what firefighters call heavy fuel load properties, more commonly described as a hoarder's house. It's also dangerous for first responders, but unfortunately, not that uncommon.
City of a million people, there's probably hundreds that we know about, maybe thousands we don't know about.
Once firefighters do know about a junk-filled property, they flag it on their station maps.
We can mark it with just a simple sticky arrow and say this particular residence is dangerous to us.
Which begs the question, if it's so dangerous, why can't the fire department make the owners clear out the property?
But legally, we don't have, authority to make somebody clean up their home.
In a situation like the Ghost Ship fire in Oakland, fire inspectors had more authority because it was a commercial building and had tenants.
It's fast moving, so you gotta head out.
But in a situation like yesterday's fire, it's private property. So all the department can do is educate the owner about the dangers and hope it gets cleaned up.
You can't enforce it so much unless it's a health hazard and you can get the county health department involved.
Neighbors we spoke with said they've been complaining to the city about the property for years, but firefighters said they didn't know about the conditions until they got the call yesterday. We were actually able to speak with the property owner, David Liu, earlier today. While he didn't want to speak with us on camera, he did say that he is heartbroken about the fire and says his insurance company will pay to clean up the entire property. In San Jose, Katie Nielsen, KPIX 5.
New tonight from the Wine Country wildfires, 2 people arrested for looting in the fire zone earlier this evening. Police say that neighbors watched the two take a flat-screen TV from a burnt-out unit in the Overlook Apartments on Bicentennial Way. They took this picture of one of them loading the TV onto a truck. When police arrived, they say the man and the woman tried to get away, but officers caught up with them and arrested the pair. They now face charges not only for looting, but also for a list of theft charges because the truck they were driving was also reported stolen.
Well, 5 members of Congress toured parts of the burn zone today. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says she'll do everything she can to get more help from Washington to Wine Country.
Police Chief Schroeder took us through the areas, and it was just unfathomable, the amount of destruction that we saw. As I said, so my colleagues will have to understand this is different from anything else, many times over.
Governor Jerry Brown declared today a day of remembrance for wildfire victims and ordered Capitol flags to be flown at half-staff. In a statement, he said, quote, "As we mourn for those we have lost, let us dedicate ourselves first to the aid of the survivors and then to the causes of safety and preparedness in our increasingly fire-prone state."
The city of Santa Rosa held a day of remembrance ceremony today to honor the victims and to celebrate the first responders. Families that lost everything came out still smiling and still thankful for what they still have. Others enjoyed the company of neighbors, calling the gathering therapeutic.
To be amongst a lot of people that's in the same predicament. We didn't lose our home or anything, but, the pain is still there. For the firefighters, the day was about expressing gratitude and reflecting on the destruction to
end the Day of Remembrance, a bell was rung to honor the 42 people who died and the one still missing.
Well, hundreds of kids in Santa Rosa celebrated Halloween tonight, but it wasn't quite the same for families who lost everything. But one church worked to make sure the kids still got some treats. Bayside Church outside Sacramento raised more than $600,000 to buy hundreds of bags of candy for the kids. Some of it was handed out tonight. The rest of it will be given out tomorrow.
Right when the fires began to happen, people started calling saying, what can we do? And, people just started giving.
It's incredible the amount of help that they need down there, just spiritual help, just people lending a helping hand, being able to just share their stories and talk about what happened to them and how they're going to recover and where they're going from here.
The church also purchased $20,000 in gift cards to hand out. And new tonight, San Francisco's pro soccer team is donating all the ticket revenue from tonight's sold-out match to help Wine Country wildfire victims. The Delta's packed Kezar Stadium tonight. Tonight's donations will specifically go to undocumented immigrants who suffered losses in the fires.
We are firm believers in doing well and doing good simultaneously. In my humble opinion, they don't need to be mutually exclusive. So it felt like we have some people here who, many of them are probably big soccer fans, and there's a way that we can kind of give back, and why not do it through the platform of professional soccer.
The Deltas say undocumented immigrants in disaster zones often need outside assistance because they cannot qualify for help from FEMA. And tonight, people were also able to donate more money at a fan appreciation zone inside the stadium.
Well, the suspect involved in a day-long standoff in Fremont is nowhere to be found tonight. 41-year-old Thomas Beltran is accused of hitting his girlfriend early this morning. The woman escaped and called 911, and then police got into a day-long standoff outside a home on Darrow Court. When they finally went inside, Beltran wasn't there. They're now trying to track him down. They think that he's most likely armed. Police say he has a long criminal history.
Well, tensions are running high in the White House tonight. Charges stemming from the Russia investigation are about to be made public. Reporter Wendy Gillette on the possible targets.
CBS News has confirmed the federal grand jury hearing evidence pertaining to special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation has approved the first criminal charges. Mueller is investigating alleged meddling by Russia in the 2016 U.S. presidential election and whether anyone connected to the Trump administration colluded with the Russian government. A federal judge ordered the indictment to be sealed.
What I suspect, given that the investigation appears to be ongoing, is that Mueller has decided to indict certain individuals in the hope that they will, what we call flip. In other words, that they'll agree to cooperate with the investigation.
Renato Mariotti says the most obvious potential targets are former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and President Trump's former campaign manager, Paul Manafort, whose Virginia home was raided by the FBI in July. President Trump has denied any wrongdoing and has called the investigation a witch hunt. Russia has also denied the allegations that it interfered in the election. Former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski downplayed the significance of the charges Saturday on Fox News Channel.
The speculation is so insane right now. What we should be focusing on are the continued lies of the Clinton administration, the continued fallacies that they perpetuate.
The indictment is expected to become public as early as Monday, when whoever is facing charges could be taken into custody. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
Well, tonight, a San Francisco prosecutor is speaking out about the time he was detained at SFO. He claims it was a classic case of racial profiling. KPX5's Andrea Borba shows us what he told the New York Times.
Protests like this one consumed SFO and airports around the country this winter after President Trump enacted a travel ban that was ultimately overturned. Among the things protesters argued against was the detention and questioning of American citizens at airports. In a New York Times op-ed published Friday titled "Seen Danger in a Face," Alex Bastian, spokesman for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office, detailed his hours-long detention at SFO following a trip to Armenia and Greece. He asked me about my trip to Armenia, whether I had attempted to sneak into Turkey or Syria during my vacation, whether I had visited any refugee camps, and whether I had joined groups like ISIS. In the op-ed, Bastian, who is an Armenian-American Christian, explains how his family escaped the Lebanese civil war, and meeting with those groups would have led to his abduction and beheading. It wasn't until some time into my questioning that the officer asked what I did for a living. I told him I was a prosecutor in the San Francisco District Attorney's Office, a fact that could have been revealed with a simple Google search. Bastian says his detention ended shortly after that, and he believes he was racially profiled, as he has been in the past. In a statement to KPIX5, a Homeland Security rep said they prohibit the consideration of race and ethnicity in screening in all but the most exceptional circumstances, saying, "Occasionally, CPB may inconvenience law-abiding citizens in our efforts to detect, deter, and mitigate threats to our homeland caused by the few individuals who are involved in illicit activities." Toward the end of his op-ed, Bastian wrote this: "I can't change my face, I can't change my features, nor should I have to fly overseas in a tuxedo to make airport authorities feel more at ease."
Well, the Houston Astros player who used a racist gesture in the World Series was back on the field tonight. Yuli Gurriel hit a home run against Yu Darvish of LA Dodgers last night in Game 3. But then, when Gurriel got back to the dugout, he was caught on camera making an offensive racist gesture. Gurriel was suspended by the league, but the punishment won't kick in until next season.
Mr. Gurriel will be suspended for 5 games without pay. During the off-season, he will be required to undergo sensitivity training.
Of course, like Houston has like Asian fans and Japanese fans, and acting like that is just disrespect all the people around the world.
The Astros manager says Gurriel has expressed remorse for mocking Darvish, who is Japanese and Iranian. Now, coming up, why is it taking so long to fix one of the deadliest roads in the Bay Area? The environmental concerns holding things up in the East Bay.
Plus, fighting crime with a lens, the Bay Area city that is now using a new high-tech tool to catch car thieves.
Without Shirley, we probably wouldn't have our homes here.
Plus, she grabbed a garden hose and got to work. The North Bay grandmother who saved her neighborhood in her nightgown.
And the fog has crept back in, and that signals a change in the basic weather patterns over the Bay Area, a change that will lead to, well, stay tuned.
License plate readers are helping cops catch car thieves in Sausalito. One camera led police to a suspected carjacker from Southern California just last night. Investigators say the cameras have been a tremendous help since they were installed in May. Sausalito police say they have recovered 11 stolen cars and captured more than a dozen criminals.
Well, it's one of the deadliest stretches of road in the Bay Area, Niles Canyon Road in the East Bay. There have been at least 5 deadly crashes so far this year. And tonight, KPIX5's Joe Vasquez on what's being done to make it safer and, more to the point, why it's taking so long.
But this is where
they pulled her car out.
Danielle Jenkins' 18-year-old daughter, Jada, was driving along Niles Canyon Road in January. She hit a sharp curve, hit another car, lost control, and plunged into Alameda Creek. Her car was found here. Her body was recovered about a month later, 11 miles away.
How would you describe what you've been through this last 8 months or so?
Shattered. It's been hard. 'Cause, you know, I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my brother. I lost my mom. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my sister. I lost my mom. I
It's been really hard.
Jada was the first to die this year along this 7-mile stretch of a narrow 2-lane road that runs from the city of Fremont to Scotts Corner in unincorporated Alameda County. Since Jada, there's been a head-on crash in April, a truck killed a bicyclist in May, a motorcyclist died in June, and in July, a woman was killed when she flipped her car over. That makes 5 fatal wrecks here on Niles Canyon Road in just 7 months this year, which begs 2 questions: why, and what's being done about it? First, the why. Fremont police say in some cases drivers experienced medical problems unrelated to Niles Canyon Road. The driver who hit the bicyclist says the sun got in her eyes and she never saw him. In Jada's case, a winter storm made for difficult driving conditions. Because the road is so narrow with very few shoulders, there's almost no margin of error. And studies have found speed is a major factor.
Everything we're doing right now is looking at getting people to slow down or warning them of any kind of conditions ahead.
Spokesman Bob Haas says Caltrans has a 4-part improvement project underway, which he says is expanding shoulders in some key areas, putting up signage and safety bumps to slow drivers down, replacing a bridge, and shoring up areas prone for rock slides. The project has been underway since the early 2000s.
It's heartbreaking. You know, it hurts to know that somebody else's family is going through what we're going through.
This family wants to know what's taking so long.
Well, we have to look at each individual accident and decide what it is we can do to make sure that this is happening now.
But I mean, it's been going for years. They want to know what's taking so long.
And we've been making improvements over the years. We did have the one project that we did have to abandon.
Caltrans had to abandon improvements for years because of a lawsuit from locals worried about the environment. They said too many trees were being cut down and native snakes and frogs endangered.
This is next to Alameda Creek, which is a stream that we've been working to get steelhead trout back into for a couple decades.
A judge ruled that Caltrans didn't get enough public input and ordered them back to the drawing board. One of the parents of the girl who died was asking, okay, yes, take care of the environment and the trees and the fish, but what about humans?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Caltrans needs to take a reasonable approach with it. And Caltrans being Caltrans, I don't think you can attribute the whole delay to what happened with the lawsuit.
Danielle Jenkins wants it fixed now.
The lack of urgency is ridiculous. We have people dying and nobody seems to care.
In Fremont, Joe Vasquez, KPIX 5.
Well, neighbors are calling 85-year-old Shirley White of Santa Rosa a guardian angel. She used her garden hose to fight a fire near her home on the very same night the wine country wildfires broke out. The fire near Shirley's home started after a tree fell on some power lines, and that is when she jumped into action.
So I saw the fire going this way, and so I just concentrated my hose right on this flame that was coming up the holly into the oak tree to stop it from going that way.
While neighbors credit Shirley with saving their homes, she insists it was a team effort.
All right, it is time to tackle the weather forecast, which shows a few things changing over the course of the week, a fundamental change that's going to usher in kind of a more distinct and chilly autumn. Well, autumn often does become in the Bay Area a bit of a bite in the air. Between now and then, we still got a beach hazard statement up if you head to the beach tomorrow. The surf's up, wave heights 15 to 20 feet. That introduces rip currents and sneaker wave threats. So have a care if you're headed shoreside. As we look toward the Bay Bridge and the back-to-back suspension span with the towers buried in fog. Highs today, Concord managed 84. It was warm in Livermore as well at 86 degrees. But San Francisco, which has been in the 70s and 80s over the past few days, only 64 degrees today. And that's why the fog's coming through the Golden Gate. And right now, San Francisco's down to 53 degrees. And in Santa Rosa, it is 50 with Oakland at 54. Here's how it looks in the futurecast. Fog and low clouds spill back in through the gate tonight. There's tomorrow morning. There's midday. If you're right along the shoreline, close to South San Francisco, it's going to be foggy tomorrow. Halloween does look like patchy fog and cool, but it'll be dry. And the high pressure that's been over the West Coast finally begins to weaken, and that'll open the door to a couple of lows out in the Pacific so that by late in the week, Friday night, Saturday, this is next weekend, Might be some rain coming into the Bay Area. We'll stay tuned on that. In the meantime, Boo at the zoo looks pretty good at San Francisco Zoo and at Oakland Zoo as well tomorrow. Looks like fun. Overnight lows. Temperatures will be in the upper 40s, low 50s. And around the Bay Area, the numbers are close to average. Down in the South Bay, we'll be in the mid-70s. Morgan Hill at 80 degrees. Over in the East Bay, we'll be mostly in the mid-70s. Few upper 70s and low 80s, though. Still be warm tomorrow, but not as warm as it has been. And same thing for the North Bay. Up at Ukiah, 82 degrees. Extended forecast. We've got sunshine through Thursday and cooling temperatures as well until we get to next weekend. And then the temperatures come down, and so too may the rain. Stay tuned on that. And for sports, here's Andrea.
All right, coming up in sports, the Dodgers down 2-1 in the World Series and trying to do what no other team has accomplished this postseason. And a Bay Area native played a big role in deciding the outcome of Game 4 in Houston. We'll be right back with sports. The Houston Astros haven't lost a postseason game at home so far, and we're leading 2-1 in the World Series. The Dodgers huddling up before Game 4 in Houston. LA starter Alex Wood had a no-hitter into the 6th, but the no-no and shutout ended on one pitch. Astros George Springer breaks a scoreless tie with his second home run of the series, and Houston leads 1-0. Top of the 9th, now tied at 1. The Dodgers' Cody Bellinger doubles home Corey Seager, giving LA a 2-1 lead, and later in the inning, it is now 3-1. Palo Alto native Jock Peterson puts this one away with a 3-run dinger. The Dodgers score 5 times in the 9th and win 6-2 to tie the series at 2 games apiece.
I like where we're at. You know, this series up to this point, we've played 4 games, and there's been so many emotional swings, and we're dead even right now, and we've got our ace going tomorrow. So I know that in our clubhouse, we feel good.
It's going to be a battle. I can't wait. I know everyone in here wishes the game was right now. We want to go back out there and play, and it's going to be a dogfight. The 2 best teams are the 2 teams left standing, and it's been that way since day 1, since the season started, and I know we're not going to back down.
To hockey, the Sharks wrapping up their 5-game East Coast road trip in Buffalo. Final seconds of the second period. San Jose's Chris Tierney, he scores on the rebound to tie the game at 2. And it's the same score less than 4 minutes to go. Logan Couture, he scores to put the Sharks ahead, and they win 3-2. It's San Jose's 3rd win in 20 games all time in Buffalo. Well, still to come, an incredible comeback as the Buckeyes hand Penn State their first loss of the year. And Cal now fighting to become bowl eligible as they have only 3 games remaining in the season. We'll be right back. The Bears thought they may have shook off their road game woes when they beat UNC to pick up their first East Coast day game win since 2012. It just hasn't applied to Pac-12 road games as they travel to Boulder. Ralphie, the Buffalo being unleashed on the Bears this afternoon. Colorado leading 7-0 in the first. Cal gets creative. Vic Wharton, a wide receiver pass to Kanawai Noah. A 15-yard touchdown ties the game at 7. It's now 14-7 CU. Early in the second quarter, Steven Montez, one of his 3 touchdown passes, a 65-yarder Shea Fields to cap off a 96-yard drive, and the Buffaloes lead 21-7. The Bears coach doesn't look happy at all. Under 3 to go, the Bears trailing by 16. Bowers is intercepted in the end zone by Nick Fisher, who decides to run it all the way out of the end zone and returns it 100 yards for a pick-6 to seal the game. Colorado wins 44-28, and the Bears fall to 1-5 in the Pac-12. San Jose State visiting BYU in a matchup of 1-7 teams. Cougar running back KJ Hall ran for 112 yards in the game. 75 of those yards picked up on this touchdown run in the second quarter that gave BYU a 21-6 lead. They go on to win 41-20 as the Spartans fall to 1-8. Ohio State fans hoping to see the Buckeyes knock off number 2 Penn State. The Nittany Lions, Saquon Barkley, enter the game as a Heisman Trophy favorite on the first play of the game. He added to his resume, returning the opening kickoff 97 yards for a touchdown. It's 7-0 Penn State. Lead just 15 seconds into the game. But less than 2 minutes to go, OSU trailing 38-20, 33. JT Barrett to Marcus Ball for the go-ahead touchdown. And the 6th-ranked Buckeyes come back from a 15-point fourth quarter deficit to win 39-38. And the Nittany Lions suffer their first loss of the year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a tough way to win, but it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, all right. We'll be right back. Check out that huge dent in that Delta Airlines plane. It was carrying the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball team. One of the players took these pictures when it landed overnight in Chicago. The team says the flight was just a little bumpy, you think? But no one on board knew anything was wrong. Delta Airlines believes the plane likely hit a large bird. But some aviation experts say the dent is way too big to be from a bird. One of the players joked that they hit Superman. It's like an egg cracking, you know? That's scary. Yes.
Halloween, sorry, I don't have
Yes.
kids. Do kids still go out? Are your kids going to go out
Absolutely.
door to door? Door to door.
Yeah, we're going too. You
Not in
better
a
believe
hermetically
it.
sealed, and they're going to go out
You
in the
gotta
wild.
have big candy bars too, Brian.
That's the way it
See you
should be.
tomorrow. Big candy bars.